got a slip in your palm and a hole in your chest. Black coffee on the felt, man, you look like a mess. 3-team parlay turned to dust in your head. Now you stare at the chips like they made you this man. But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now. Hold on, hold on. Not tonight, not now. Hold on. Let me pull you out. That bell bites hard, but it don't get the crown.
What's up, everybody? It's Toad, back with you. Toadstool Sports. It's Tuesday? Is that what it is? August 18th. Don't listen to me, man. Forced that play yesterday in Arizona. I did tell you that the Red Sox might be bringing Bayo into that game, and yeah, that is exactly what they did. They brought him in the second inning, and he was good. Again, he has like the lowest relief ERA in all of baseball. Even though if he pitches the first inning, he's an absolute disaster. But as long as somebody else pitches the first inning, he's like one of the best pitchers in baseball. It's insane. I did say that was a concern with it. The Red Sox just also teed off. Like they got Mitch Bratt out of the game early, and then Arizona brought in Zach Littell. Like I think it was a 2-0 game when they brought in Littell. I'm like, okay, they're throwing the game now. I mean, at least I'm a Red Sox fan, and the Red Sox won and looked good in the game. Zach Littell, I mean, that's a forfeit if you bring him in. So didn't really think that was the direction Arizona was going to go. Littell pitched the rest of the game, though, because they just were like, all right, we're not going to win this game, I guess. Let's just save the rest of our bullpen. I don't know what they were doing. And, of course, I was right about a bunch of the other games yesterday. That's just great. McAdoo, what's up? No. Oh, yeah, put an opener in front of him. Yes, correct. I think that is kind of what they're doing at this point, I guess. But whose spot was that in the rotation, though? Somebody else is hurt, right? Well, no, I guess they must have just done it because of the way the rest worked out, because nobody else is hurt. They still have Gray, Suárez, Bennett, who's not pitching well, and Tolley, obviously. They're all still there. And maybe what they should do is get rid of Sandoval, and that spot should be opener plus Bayo. I think that would at least be better than Sandoval. That's what they should do. They need Crochet back. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. Let's do baseball here. I like the board today. I got 3 plays here. I almost added a fourth, which I'll tell you what that is too. I was thinking I was going to have way too many because the first 2 games are both plays for me, so whatever. This is the best bet segment already. First play up. I have to get these all into the system, though, which I do not have yet. Let me add these right now. I'm trying to remember what the prices were on these. Hang on. Let me. I should have done this before I started the show. Sometimes I forget. And then my last play was, yeah, I think I remember what it was. All right, first play, we're going to take the Yankees. I mean, when are you going to get the Yankees at a price like this? It's a pick-em price on the Yankees. Yeah, it looks, I guess, probably too easy to play them here, but this is a great spot to play the Yankees. I think they have the better pitcher on the mound as well. They have the better bullpen, so let's do it here. First of all, it's a rest advantage for the Yankees. Baltimore played yesterday. They're coming off a big series against Tampa Bay. And while, sure, they should also get up for the Yankees, theoretically, just like they did with Tampa Bay. Baltimore not really going anywhere, most likely, but they'll get up for these big divisional games. there are multiple problems with the spot for Baltimore. They're returning home from a 3-series road trip where they went to Texas, Minnesota, Tampa Bay. So that's a negative as well. Returning from a long road trip, I talk about it. It can be a distraction. You have to get back to home life, whatever. Even if you are playing the Yankees, you might get distracted. But like I said, in addition to that, they played yesterday, and they had another tough game against the Rays. They lost by 1 after winning the first 3 games against the Rays. So they're at 2 huge disadvantages here right off the bat. Return home spot, very bad. Negative because they were not resting yesterday, and the Yankees were. The Yankees did not play yesterday. So that's an advantage to the Yankees as well. The Yankees just ended a 3-game losing streak. They're coming off a bad series against the Blue Jays. They won the last game. So they, I think, come into this with a little bit of momentum here, plus the rest. The Yankees are good on the road as well. They're 10 games above 500 on the road. So you could definitely back them on the road. And again, I think the Yankees do have some matchup edges here, too. Baltimore also did use relief pitchers because they played yesterday. They used 4 guys out of the bullpen. So they're already at a bullpen disadvantage, and that's going to make it worse. The Yankees are the number 4 bullpen based on whip, although they're actually 3 because they're tied with Tampa Bay in whip, but they're actually the number 2 bullpen, in my opinion, right now. Maybe number 1 with the Red Sox injuries they have right now. Baltimore is just an okay bullpen. They're 13th. So Yankees have the edge there. The hitting has been about even. Baltimore 16, Yankees 17. Yankees are capable of having a better offense than Baltimore, though. And Baltimore sold off the trade deadline. Carlos Rodón will be making his return for the Yankees. And I like to back veteran pitchers when they're coming back from the DL. I don't think he's been hurt for that long, so it's not like a long absence either, so I don't think he's going to be that thrown off. I think he can get back to it. But like I said, he's a veteran, and I like veterans coming back from the injured list because a lot of times the team will rally around them when they come back. They'll be pumped. They get one of their starters back. He'll be pumped to get back out there. He had a good season before he went down for the most part. 3.3 ERA, although 1.25 whip, I guess you could argue, isn't the greatest, but it's fine. He was fine on the road. 3.56 road ERA was worse than his home ERA, but his opponent batting average on the road was below 200, so it was actually better. He had actually allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every single start that he made before he went down, and the Yankees had won 5 of his last 6 starts before he went down. He was walking too many guys, though. That was the one issue that he had before the injury. His hit rate was very low. His walk rate was too high. Like I said, strikeout rate was also high. So that was the issue with him is the walks, and that's influencing his strikeout walk ratio and making that not really that good. His strikeouts per 9, pretty good though, over 10, so he has strikeout talent here. He does not have great numbers against Baltimore, but you'll see why I think he still has a starting pitching edge in a minute. His numbers against Baltimore are kind of mediocre / not very good, and 56 at-bats, 250 average, 883 OPS. I understand that is kind of high. They have some home runs off him. 18 strikeouts, 5 walks, though, so he actually does have a good command ratio against them. Now, Baltimore's going with Shane Baz, and I think he's worse than Carlos Rodón is. Baz has been mediocre, 4 ERA, 1.36 whip is not really that good. He is a little bit better at home in some ways, 3.69 ERA, but his opponent batting average at home is actually way worse at 290, so he's been very hittable at home. He had a couple of good starts in here recently, but then I think he started trending in the wrong direction again. His last start was not good against Minnesota, and the thing that really kind of sealed this for me is Baltimore's lost 8 of his last 9 games, I think is what this is, and his last 5 starts in a row. So Baltimore's losing every time he takes the mound, even when he does pitch well. So I don't think that's a great sign. And overall, I mean, he's got some numbers that are just all right. His hit rate is too high. It's above 1 per inning. His strikeout rate is below 1 per inning by a bit. That's not great. His walk rate is mediocre. There's not a lot to really love here. Less than mediocre strikeout walk ratio. Strikeout per 9, one of the lowest numbers there that he's posted in his career. That's not great. And then the other clincher here is he's bad against the Yankees. He has a 314 average against them, 1,025 OPS against, 51 at-bats there, a 12-9 strikeout walk ratio. Those are bad numbers, worse than Rodón. So I do think you're getting every advantage for the Yankees here, man. The money's not even agreeing with me on this. I don't really know why. 72% of tickets, 70% of the cash on the Yankees. The only thing I can think of is that, yeah, it does look too easy to take the Yankees. The public will come in and play the Yankees because they are the Yankees. Usually you don't get value on them. But I just told you the handicap. Like, where is their disadvantage here? Other than that Rodón isn't excellent against Baltimore, but BOS is worse against the Yankees. I think the Yankees have the better starting pitcher, probably the better offense, definitely the better bullpen. They're rested. Baltimore's not. And Baltimore's returning home from a long road trip. So I don't really see any area of this game where the Yankees don't at least have a slight edge. Debatably, maybe the hitting. We'll take the Yankees here on the money line. Maybe it seems too easy, but the handicap seems correct for it. Seems like one of the stronger situational spots you'll see, and it does line up with the starting pitching matchup where I look for both of those things to be the case. Money is also backing the under in that game for whatever that's worth. I would not do that. I would play the over in that game probably. I just think neither starting pitcher has great matchup numbers there, so the over 8.5 makes a little more sense to me, but Yankees is the play there. I do understand, the sentiment for the under in a Yankee game because their offense, absolutely, it has been struggling recently, but I think this is one of those games where their offense should get something done against a pitcher that they usually do well against. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. And plus, they get to face Baltimore's bullpen that has some usage there. The next game is also a play for me. It is one of these dreaded first 5 unders, but the pricing wasn't too bad on this. You can find a 4.5 at minus 122 out there. I found it at the gym book that starts with a B. If you wanted to go under 4, you could do that as well. I don't love 3.5s, but 4.5 I think is a lot better. And finding a price like this on the extra half run there made sense to me. And I think this is going to be a pitching duel early in this game. So that's what I'm going with here. Detroit won the game yesterday 8-5, so they got back on track yesterday. I was pretty much correct about my analysis of that game. I think I said that I leaned to Detroit and a little bit towards the over in that game yesterday, and both of those wound up being correct because everything that I said was basically correct except the actual play that I gave out yesterday. I should have just skipped the board completely, man. I almost did. Today, that's not happening, though. So both of these teams did play yesterday. I'm going to factor out the bullpens mostly because I don't like Pittsburgh's bullpen. Plus, they used 5 guys out of the bullpen, so we got to take them out of the equation. I can't trust their bullpen. Detroit only used 3. I would be okay relying on their bullpen. They have the better bullpen, but Pittsburgh's bullpen, I'm going to cast them out and just focus on the starters here. Detroit, number 14 in bullpen. Pittsburgh, 23rd. Don't really want to deal with that. Pittsburgh is a good offense at home. I understand we're fading that by playing the under here. Pittsburgh does hit well at home. I think they could be shut down a little bit by the pitching on the other side here, though. They are number 4 in offense. Detroit's a good offense, too. They're number 10, tied with Atlanta, but I still think that we can get this done here with these starting pitchers. Keter Montero is pitching for Detroit. He's had a pretty good season. He's been back and forth between the starting rotation and the bullpen, but I presume that he is starting in this game, so I don't think that you need to go action on this, but if you really wanted to, you could pick Ashcraft must start for Pittsburgh and not pick a starter for Detroit, but Montero is very likely to start here, and if he doesn't, he's going to come in like the second inning. 3.22 ERA for him, .99 whip. Pretty good stuff here. He's been very good on the road. 2.77 road ERA, 156 opponent batting average on the road. He's getting it done on the road, man. Except last time out, he was bad on the road against San Francisco. That is a little bit of a red flag. And then he didn't strike out anybody against Cleveland, although he shut them out for 6 1/3 innings. Maybe that's a little bit worrisome that he's not really striking anybody out here, but he's holding opposing offenses down. He just doesn't strike guys out, but he doesn't put guys on base. He's hard to hit, has a low walk rate. Of course, the advanced analytics guys are not going to like him, but his strikeout walk ratio is 3, despite not striking anybody out because he doesn't walk anybody either. Strikeouts per 9, I understand that number's low, but he also is good against Pittsburgh. They have a 161 average against him and 419 OPS and 31 at bats, so it's a decent sample here. they've done almost nothing against him outside of Nick Gonzalez, 2 for 4 with a home run. Not a lot of damage otherwise here. 7 strikeouts, no walks. So I will back him here. And I'm also going to back Ashcraft here, as I do quite often, because I think he's a good pitcher. He might be better than Skeens at this point, with Skeens looking like he's injured or something. Ashcraft, 3.88 ERA, 1.11 whip. He's been basically the same home and away, very slightly worse at home, but doesn't really matter that much. Pittsburgh's been winning a lot of his games. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in all of his starts this month. And last time out, he threw a complete game against Miami, allowed 1 run, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk, 3 hits allowed. We won in the first 5 in that game, and it was actually easier to win with the full game in that one. But I excluded Pittsburgh's bullpen, and their bullpen didn't even enter the game. But Ashcraft, what I really like about that is he was completely on point. And now he's got a 20-3 strikeout walk ratio this month, and he's allowed very few hits too. So he's obviously in total command right now. But he didn't even throw that many pitches. He only threw 85 pitches in that complete game, so he was not overworked. So I like that. He is approaching that, kind of innings pitch threshold here with these young pitchers when they go more innings than they have before, which that is happening with him. It might become a problem at some point, but it doesn't look like it's a problem yet, so I'm willing to back him here. He's got a low hit rate, low walk rate, high strikeout rate. His only problem is he allows a decent amount of home runs. But other than that, these numbers look good. He's got a nice strikeout walk ratio that's approaching 5. Strikeouts per 9, almost 10. That's good stuff. Detroit basically hasn't seen him before. Dingler is the only hitter who's faced him. He's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. I think it's basically you get the unfamiliarity with Ashcraft here, so I think that's an extra edge to him. The opposing hitters are going to have to figure him out on the fly, so I think he has the extra advantage there. We'll go under in the first 5 in this one. I don't know if the market is agreeing with me on this. It looks like it's not. 69% of tickets, 83% of the cash on the over. The total's at 8 on the full game. That money is on the full game, but yeah, I like the first 5 under, so that's what I'm doing. Detroit is getting the money, and that sort of, for me, corroborates the under, because if the lesser pitcher, which I believe to be Montero, if he's actually getting the money, that does actually tell me that he's being backed by the professional money, so they don't think he's going to be bad. So to me, that kind of backs up the under lean here, because I think Ashcraft is the more talented pitcher here. So if the money's coming in the other way, I think that's kind of telling you both pitchers might do well here. 53% of the tickets are on Pittsburgh, 72% of the cash on Detroit, for whatever that's worth. Detroit is an underdog. Pittsburgh is about minus 140 here. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a great feel for the side here. Detroit bounced back nicely with the win yesterday. It could be a bounce back spot for Pittsburgh this time, though. I think Ashcraft is the better pitcher, so I'm not really totally sold on Detroit here. Pittsburgh first 5 makes a little bit more sense to me, but obviously the under is my play there in the first 5. All right. I won't have that many plays. I mean, it seems like I told you, I was like, oh my God, am I going to have a play on every game? No, I'm not. I only have one more, and I have one that almost made the cut for me. You might guess wrong. You probably won't be able to guess what my last play is, and the one that's the next one off my card is probably the one that you think is my play, if you know how I handicap this. Miami at Philadelphia. This game, Philadelphia won the game yesterday 6-5. I don't even remember what my assessment was of that game yesterday. I'm looking at Pittsburgh. Philadelphia used 4 relief pitchers. They're not a very good bullpen. Miami used 3. Miami has the better bullpen. They're 7th in bullpen, although I don't think they're that good, but they're better than Philly. Philly is 18th. Offensively, Miami ranks out better as well. They're 8th, and Philadelphia is 19th. I don't think there's that much of a gap between these two offenses, but Miami has been the better one. Miami is going with a bullpen game, though. They have Cade Gibson listed as a starter, but I think it's going to be mostly Tyler Phillips here. Gibson does not have good numbers, but I think he's only going to pitch the first inning, and then they're going to go to Tyler Phillips. I'm almost positive that they are, because he last pitched 5 days ago, so if you look 5 games back, he was the pitcher from Miami, so I believe he is going to be in this game. He hasn't been that good either, though. His ERA looks all right, 3.65. 1.36 whip is not that good, though. Phillips has been very bad on the road, 5.9 road ERA. But the other reason I think it's him is because I look tomorrow, and tomorrow is Sandy Alcantara, so Phillips, this would be his turn in the rotation, and Gibson is definitely an opener. So that's why I am almost positive Phillips is pitching in this game. But again, if you want to play this game, I would pick action on the Miami side. You know what I mean? Pick for Philadelphia, pick Wheeler must start with whatever you're doing here, but don't pick a pitcher from Miami. But I believe it will be Phillips for the majority of the workload here. But yes, he's not good on the road. He's not really pitching that well recently either, except he's not walking anybody, so that's a decent sign. But again, I still don't think he's that good. He has a very low strikeout walk ratio. He doesn't really strike many guys out. His walk rate is also not good. So those numbers are not good. Strikeouts per 9, not good. He's not that hittable, which is okay, but he walks too many guys. Doesn't strike guys out, like I said. And against Philly, he's not very good. 279 average, 903 OPS allowed, 14-8 strikeout walk ratio. That's in 61 at-bats. So I don't like the Miami pitching setup here. Philadelphia, I do like theirs because obviously Zach Wheeler, even though he's on my shit list right now for blowing that under for us the other day, he's still a good pitcher, man. Even though he's not pitching well recently, he's a veteran pitcher, so I expect him to return to form at some point here, unless you think he's fading towards the end of the season because he's too old. And if that's the case, then Philly's going to be in trouble in the playoffs because they're going to need him in their playoff rotation, assuming they make it. He's got a 2.89 ERA, 1 whip. That's all good, obviously. He's a little bit worse at home with a 3.19 home ERA. Again, he wasn't pitching that well recently, though. He had 1 bad walk outing against Toronto. Last time out, he wasn't really that bad, but he couldn't get out of the 5th inning, dude. So that was a problem. That ruined our first 5 under. I don't know what happened to him in that 5th inning against St. Louis because he was cruising through that game until that point. But he's got really good numbers across the board here. Low hit rate, low walk rate, high strikeout rate. Strikeouts per 9, pretty good number there. Or strikeout walk ratio. I mean, strikeouts per 9, also good. All the numbers are good. And his numbers against Miami are also pretty good. In 59 at-bats, 220 average allowed. 733 OPS is not as good as you would think. They do have a couple of home runs off him and a decent amount of doubles here, but I would trust him over Miami's pitching staff here, though. 22-6 strikeout walk ratio. I think Philly's going to win this game, but the price is not good. It's minus 223 all the way down from minus 260. So some real money has come in to back Miami here. There's no way that I would do that, though. 85% of tickets, 74% of the cash on Philly. So the money is coming in against them. The money's also backing the over 8. I think if you want to play this game, I think you could take Philly over their team total. You'll need them to score probably a lot, though. You'll probably need them to score 6 runs here if you do that, but they're definitely capable of doing that against a pretty bad Miami pitching setup here. Plus, Philly's offense is at least better at home, although you won't get the 9th inning, though. If they're already winning, they won't hit in the 9th inning to try to pad that number, you know what I mean? But that might be the approach in this game, is to take Philly over their team total. And then you get to exclude Wheeler, who at least, he's been a little bit questionable recently, so if you want to take him out of the equation, Philly team total over makes some sense here. I guess laying the run line with them, I guess, is not off the table for Philly here. I wouldn't want to do that, but, it's not something that I do very often. And, of course, the professionals will tell you to not do either of those things with the home team because they won't bat in the 9th inning potentially, but whatever. Garrett, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Well, the Red Sox were woken up for the entire last month or so. It helped that they were facing Zach Littell for 8 innings yesterday, or 7 innings, or whatever it was. If you get to face that guy for almost the entire game, if you don't score, then there's something really wrong with you. Arizona basically threw the game. The other thing that happened in that game, Ketel Marte, however you want to pronounce his name, he just didn't show up to the ballpark. There's something completely wrong with that guy, dude. You have him, crying about your mom jokes, and I know his mom died, but it was 3 years prior to that, and the heckler probably didn't even actually know about his mom. They just made a high school your mom joke. He cried about that, went to the media about that, and then not too long after that, he took, almost a week off for mental health. What are we doing here? The Red Sox were trying to get him during the offseason? No way, dude. And then yesterday, he just randomly doesn't show up. Just inexplicably. It was like, remember when the center for the Raiders didn't show up for the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers that year? It felt like that. It was like, we have no idea where this guy is. We have a game today. I'm pretty sure he was on the team flight, and he just never showed up to the ballpark. Like, why would anybody want that guy? It's so ridiculous. I've never seen a bigger head case, I don't think, than that guy, and in such an extremely soft way. So that also helped with the Red Sox yesterday, not having to face him in the lineup. All right. San Francisco, Cleveland. Both of these teams were off yesterday. Cleveland is staying at home after losing 3 of their last 4. So Cleveland not playing great baseball right now, but they're the only team with motivation in this game, really. Like San Francisco, they're not going anywhere. Cleveland is still trying to make the playoffs. San Francisco is starting a road trip here. Yeah, I say that starting a road trip a lot of times is a focus spot, but I don't know, man. What does San Francisco really have to play for here? Cleveland has more to play for, and they have the better starting pitcher on the mound here. But if you want Cleveland, you got to pay for it. Although I don't think there's any way I would want San Francisco here. Neither bullpen got used yesterday, of course, because both teams are off. Cleveland is the better bullpen. They're ranked 19th. They're an okay bullpen. San Francisco is below average at 24th. So Cleveland has the advantage there. I don't like either offense, but San Francisco ranks higher than Cleveland. They're 18th, and Cleveland is 29th. Yeah, both bad offenses, though, so you might be able to find some unders in this series. I wouldn't do it in this game, though, with Carson Whisenhunt on the mound for San Francisco. He's been awful. I think this is his second season in Major League Baseball, and his numbers have not been good. 6.11 ERA, 1.71 whip. He's been a total train wreck on the road. He pitches better in San Francisco's pitcher-friendly park. 9.26 road ERA. Really bad. Although Cleveland can't hit, and they play a lot of low-scoring games at home, so maybe this isn't the worst matchup for him. But I don't know how you could trust anything that this guy's doing here. He's walked 3+ guys in all but 2 of his outings this year. So 4 of the 6, that's not good. His hit rate is above 1 per inning. That's not good. His walk rate is way too high. Also not good. He doesn't really strike that many guys out. That's not good. Bad strikeout walk ratio. Bad strikeout per 9. Well, not bad, but definitely not great. Yeah, there's nothing to really like here about what Whisenhunt is doing. The only thing that might save him is he's facing a lineup that really isn't familiar with him, and they're not a good lineup, so maybe he can kind of struggle his way through this, but I don't think I'd want to put my money on it. Joe Adell has faced him before. He's 1 for 2 with a home run off him and a single. Other than that, Cleveland has nobody in their lineup that's faced him before. But I do not trust Whisenhunt. Foster Griffin is pitching for Cleveland. They picked him up at the trade deadline. He had a surprisingly good season with Washington from out of nowhere. Maybe overperformed, and Washington decided to get rid of him. Good numbers here still. 3.25 ERA, 1.11 whip. He's only been slightly worse as a home pitcher, 3.43 home ERA. That was mostly with Washington, but his first start with Cleveland here at home was not good, and it was against the Mets. That's not exactly a great sign. The Mets were able to hit him pretty hard. So he had good command numbers in that outing, but Mets hit him hard, so that wasn't good. He had a better start last time against Detroit, so his second start with Cleveland went better. On the road against Detroit, not an easy task, and he did well there. So maybe he was nervous in his first start with Cleveland. I don't know. But he is pitching better, it looks like, again now. So I wouldn't totally throw Griffin out here, but you do have to worry about his innings pitch count because, again, he's not a guy that's thrown anywhere near this amount of innings before. Even though he's not young, he's 31. He's just never stuck in Major League Baseball until now. So that's somewhat of a concern, but he does have a low hit rate, doesn't really walk anybody. His strikeout rate is mediocre, and he does allow too many home runs, so that's the one real knock against him is the home runs. Strikeout walk ratio is pretty good, actually, and strikeout per 9, not bad. So, I mean, you can't really knock him for those numbers there. His numbers against San Francisco, he has faced them before. Let me see. I believe his numbers are good. They're not a good lineup. Yeah, they have 13 at-bats against him. They have 5 hitters who have faced him. 5 strikeouts, no walks, no extra base hits, 154 average, 308 OPS. So Griffin should have the upper hand in the starting pitching matchup here. I would only be able to lean towards Cleveland here, but the problem is the price is ridiculous. It's like minus 190. I don't think you could do it, man. And the money doesn't agree with playing it. 86% of tickets, 71% of the cash on Cleveland. But still, I think you have the motivation. You have the better starting pitcher. You have the better bullpen. Cleveland, to me, has the edge in pitching throughout this entire game. You know, I mean, you could make like you could look at the minus 1.5 run line with them, but that's really concerning with an offense that really doesn't do a whole lot of damage like Cleveland. You could take San Francisco to go under their team total, but the money is coming in on the over. I don't know if I like that or if I trust Griffin and Cleveland's bullpen enough to really do that. It's an option, though, I guess. San Francisco team total under, which you need him to probably score, I don't even know. You might need him to score lower than 3, which is definitely an ask. You know, I mean, again, those team total unders, a lot of times you have almost no room for error there. Full game totals at 8, and the money is coming in on the over for whatever that's worth. You know, I mean, you can knock the price down by playing a minus 1 run line on Cleveland. If you want to get the price down that way, you're probably going to be looking at like minus 130 maybe on something like that, I would guess. So you could do that, I guess, and then if they win, which I do expect them to win, and as long as they win by 1, you'll at least not lose money. But I don't know. That's not something I'm really interested in doing, and the market doesn't agree with it. Although I don't think the market agrees with the Yankees either, but I think that's a strong play on the Yankees. St. Louis and Cincinnati, they played a doubleheader yesterday, and they don't have good bullpens. They split the doubleheader yesterday. St. Louis won the first game with, I guess, Quinn Matthews or whatever. Looks like he pitched pretty well in that one, it looks like. And then more scoring in the second game. There might be more scoring here in this one because the bullpens are not good and they saw a lot of usage with 2 games yesterday. A lot of times I do like to look towards an over the day after a doubleheader because the bullpen a lot of times is just totally shot for both teams. Cincinnati used 6 relief pitchers and their bullpen's not good. St. Louis used a lot too. They used 7 and their bullpen is not much better. They're 21st, Cincinnati 25th. So I think you definitely got to avoid or fade the bullpens here. The offenses in this game aren't very good, though. Cincinnati 24th, tied with St. Louis, actually, at 24th. I know St. Louis got some hype with Baez coming in there, but I still don't think their offense is very good. Kyle Leahy is getting the start for St. Louis. He is pitching pretty well recently. He's kind of turned his season around and pitched better recently. I'm not sure that he's that good, though. 3.38 ERA does look good. WHIP is not very good, 1.34. He's not as good on the road, 3.96 road ERA. St. Louis is a much more pitcher-friendly park, definitely than Cincinnati's is. Leahy has been good recently, though. He's got a 14-0 strikeout walk ratio in his 2 starts this month. So that's pretty good. He's in full command right now, but he is allowing too many hits still. But he's not allowing many runs at all. He's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs going all the way back into mid-June. So yeah, like I said, he is pitching better right now, but his hit rate is still too high. He doesn't really walk a lot of guys, and he strikes out an okay amount of guys. So his strikeout walk ratio is reasonable here, not bad. Strikeouts per 9 are also okay. So he's not a terrible pitcher, but he's not great either. Cincinnati has had the upper hand against him, a 262 average, 843 OPS is pretty high, 61 at bats there, 16-5 strikeout walk ratio. The command numbers again look pretty good here, but Cincinnati has been able to hit him, so he does get hit kind of hard sometimes. And again, he's not as good on the road. Andrew Abbott is pitching for Cincinnati. Not really great numbers here by any means. 4.13 ERA. This has been his worst season. 1.42 WHIP is really ugly. He's putting way too many men on base, and he's not good at home. 4.97 home ERA. So both pitchers are in the worst of their home road splits here. Cincinnati's won 3 of his last 4 games, but he wasn't really that good in any of them. He's had more walks than strikeouts over that span, and also in the month of August. That's not good. Some of these outings, he's not really going that deep. He's keeping his team in the game mostly by not allowing that many runs, but this is not sustainable, really. His walk rate is just really, really bad. He doesn't allow that many hits. His strikeout rate is also kind of low. He doesn't strike guys out. His strikeout walk ratio is actually really bad this year. It's below 2, and last year it was 3.5. So he's really fallen off this year. Last year was his best season of his career. This year, his worst. It's kind of crazy what's gone on here. His strikeout rate's gone way down this year. Walk rate's gone up. I don't know what's up with that. He is good against the Cardinals, though. So everything was like looking like, oh, yeah, this is going to be an over, except that he's good against St. Louis. And maybe I overrate these matchup numbers sometimes, although I think I'm not overrating it by backing the Yankees today. But Abbott, 79 at-bats against St. Louis, 190 average allowed, 534 OPS. Again, the walks are pretty bad, though. 17 strikeouts, 10 walks. That's not good, but the rest of these numbers are good. So Abbott seems like he has the upper hand in the starting pitching matchup here at least, but I still think if you're going to play this game, I still think the over makes the most sense. I mean, I don't think either pitcher is trustworthy. They're both in the bad home road split, and the bullpens are overworked and not good, so the over makes the most sense to me here at 8.5, but the money is coming in on the under. I do not know why. 50% of tickets on the over, 90% of the cash on the under. If it was in St. Louis, I might have a different opinion on this, because both pitchers would be in their better home road split if that was the case, and it would be a more pitcher-friendly park. But in Cincinnati, yeah, no. I would lean over. The money's also backing St. Louis. 66% of tickets, 85% of the cash on St. Louis. They're a slight favorite. I think part of that is because St. Louis is technically not eliminated from the playoffs, so I think that's part of the reason why money's kind of coming in that way, because they have more motivation in the game, if you want to call it that. But Cincinnati, it's a divisional matchup. They could play spoiler here. Cincinnati didn't just roll over, and yesterday's games were competitive, so both teams are trying to win. And Leahy has the worst matchup numbers, as I showed you. Although I think he is probably the better pitcher over Abbott. I mean, the way that Abbott just walks everybody and doesn't strike out anybody, Leahy is better in both of those stats. He walks way fewer people and he strikes out more. So, yeah. Leahy is generally the better of the two pitchers, but whatever. Toronto and Tampa Bay, we do have a rest advantage here in this game for Toronto. Tampa Bay won the game yesterday against Baltimore to break a 3-game losing streak. Barely got it. Nice win for Tampa Bay, though. They're staying at home, but Toronto is rested. However, Toronto is coming in off a difficult series against the Yankees, where they won the series, and they played every one of the 3 games competitively against the Yankees. Starting a road trip, though, usually is a focus spot. And, Toronto, they're playing out the stretch, but these are the types of games they will get up for. Games against the Yankees and the Rays, they're going to try to play spoiler and whatever and try to beat the teams that are atop the division here, So I don't think Toronto is going to overlook the Rays or anything like that here. They do have the rest advantage, like I said, and Tampa Bay did use some of their bullpen yesterday. They used a lot, actually. They used 5 guys out of the bullpen. So Toronto, with the rest here, probably actually has a bullpen edge. Tampa Bay is ranked 3rd in bullpen and whip, but I still don't buy it because their ERA is above 4. It's not that good. Toronto's is below 4, even though their whip is worse, and they're ranked 16th. Toronto, given that they have the better bullpen ERA and the bullpen is rested, I think they might actually have the bullpen edge here. Tampa Bay is the better offense. There's no question about that. They're ranked 6th, even though I don't think they're that good. Toronto's dead last, 30th. So, yeah, Tampa does have the better offense. The advanced analytics guys will give the starting pitching edge to Toronto here with Jose Soriano. They're going to like him better than Nick Martinez here because Soriano is the pitcher with more actual talent and better strikeout stuff. So Soriano, Toronto got him at the trade deadline. He's been all right since they got him. He's had an all right season, a 3.16 ERA. 1.25 whip is a little bit high, though. But we know one thing about him is that he tends to be better on the road. Last year, he was way better on the road. This year, he is slightly better on the road, 2.82 road ERA. So he is good on the road. After Toronto got him, he had kind of a questionable start against Philly. Didn't really make it that deep, walked too many guys, but he had a pretty good start last time out against the Red Sox. And Toronto won both those games, actually, because he did get a little bit of run support there. But he's got a low hit rate. He's hard to hit. He strikes out a decent amount of guys. His only problem is the walks. I mean, you could figure that, right? Like, a lot of times these guys that throw hard, they don't allow many hits, but they walk a lot of guys. His strikeout-walk ratio is kind of a concern. It's like around 2, which is not good enough because he walks too many guys. Like, his strikeout rate is pretty good. Strikeouts per 9, right around 9. That's good, but he's got to stop walking people, man. That's the one major issue with him. And Tampa Bay has had the upper hand against him. Tampa Bay hits him well. They have a 319 average against him. OPS isn't that good, though. It's 734, so they haven't really hit him for a lot of power, but they've hit him for contact, and that's in 47 at-bats, 11 strikeouts, 4 walks. So I don't know if I want to fully trust Soriano here, even though I was considering Toronto here because they do have the rest advantage. Soriano is good on the road. The advanced analytics guys don't like Nick Martinez, who's pitching for Tampa here. He's had a good season, though, and he does not put a lot of guys on base. He doesn't walk guys. So Soriano walks a lot of guys, but he does strike out way more guys. Martinez is the opposite. Like, he doesn't strike guys out, but he also doesn't walk guys. He's got a 2.74 ERA, 1.09 whip. He's also older than Soriano by quite a bit. Martinez is a little bit worse at home, 3.31 home ERA. Although the other thing that we know is that Tampa Bay is good at home. So a lot of times I will not want to fade them at home. I think the only time I remember actually fading them at home is that Schlittler game against them where we did win that one, and it was close. Maybe I've faded them at home besides that. I don't remember. Martinez has been pitching okay over his last couple of starts. 9 strikeouts, no walks here, and that was in Coors Field and in the A's Sacramento Stadium where he actually threw a complete game. He allowed 4 runs there, but they let him go the full game. So that's actually a decent sign that he did pitch well in 2 very hitter-friendly ballparks there. Martinez is continuing to pitch pretty well here, man. It's just he doesn't strike anybody out. That's the one thing. The advanced analytics guys hate him for that reason. But he doesn't allow a lot of hits. He basically doesn't walk anybody. So his strikeout-walk ratio is still pretty good. It's actually basically 4, despite not striking anybody out. That's how few people he walks. But he does have his lowest strikeout per 9 of his career this year. So his strikeout rate is very low, which, yes, I admit that is a little bit concerning. His numbers against the Blue Jays are not good. In 68 at-bats, 309 average, 806 OPS, 8-6 strikeout walk ratio. So he actually doesn't have good command numbers here. George Springer has specifically pretty good numbers here. 8 for 19 with 2 home runs, 4 walks, and a strikeout. So if you want player prop stuff there, hits plus runs plus RBIs. I think I said that about Ohtani yesterday, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, and he had a really good game, so he would have hit on whatever player props you played with them, basically. But yeah, do what you want here, but I think Toronto is still probably a lean for me here. The money is heavily agreeing with Toronto. 71% of tickets on Tampa Bay, 70% of the cash on Toronto. You're getting Toronto as a dog here. The line dropped from Tampa Bay minus 150 all the way down to minus 130. I would agree with Toronto and lean slightly that way. Soriano at least has the higher ceiling, more talent. The spot sets up better for Toronto. The bullpen has a big rest edge that you can see here. The over, I think, is worth consideration here, and the money is also on the over. 60% of tickets, 94% of the cash on the over. Neither pitcher has good matchup numbers. Soriano's got walk problems. Martinez doesn't really fool anybody when he's out there. Total at 7.5. It's a low total because both pitchers are considered to be good, have good ERAs. The odds makers consider them to both be effective pitchers, but 7.5 is not giving you a lot of leeway here. And Tampa's bullpen is not very well rested. Both starters have some question marks here, so I do think the over is worth a look in that game at the very least. But yeah, I mean, Toronto might be the slightly better way to look at that game, though. And, the first things that I thought were, well, Toronto's got a rest edge, so it's a better spot for them. Plus, Soriano's good on the road. Those were my first 2 thoughts about that, where I was thinking Toronto might be a play in that one. The next game is my last play here, which people probably did not expect this. But I think we have a lot of good indicators for playing Arizona and the Red Sox over 8 here. The number's in no man's land. I mean, if 8.5 is a better number, you could play that too. But I found the over 8 at a pretty cheap number, which I think was at the Scoreboard former ESPN book. I think this game is going to be high scoring. I said that yesterday, too, and it wasn't over yesterday. That was correct, but it was all Red Sox, which is not what I thought yesterday. Today, I'm not going to try to figure out the side. We have no idea if Marte is going to play in this game or not, which is one thing that might dampen the over a little bit, but I just don't care. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see what the numbers look like in a minute, but yeah, I still think this game's going over, even if Marte is going to be a bitch and not play for Arizona. I just don't care that much. The Red Sox do have a good bullpen. They're number one, but they used 5 guys yesterday. I think they should have left Bayo in longer. I don't know what they were doing there. They could have left him in for at least another inning, but the Red Sox then had to use 3 guys behind him. I don't like that. And this Red Sox bullpen is very injured right now. They didn't use Chapman yesterday, obviously, but the Red Sox are without Slayton and Whitlock right now. Whitlock was having a really good season. Yeah, not good times for the Red Sox bullpen right now. So you have a Red Sox bullpen that's not well rested here after yesterday, plus some of their better relievers are gone on the injured list right now. So I think they might be fadeable here. Arizona only used 2 guys, but I don't love Arizona's bullpen. They use Littell. I thought they only used Littell. They did use Santana very briefly. Not Carlos Santana, Dennis. Carlos Santana, that would be weird. He's not still in the league at this point, is he? I feel like he stayed in the league forever. He was a catcher. Anyway, I don't love Arizona's bullpen, even though they're ranked 6th. Their ERA is over 4, so they're not exactly the most backable bullpen. Red Sox are number 1 in bullpen, yes, but they're not as good recently. And again, with all these injuries and the usage yesterday, I'm not going to trust their bullpen here. The offenses have been better since the All-Star break for both teams. The Red Sox are 14th now in offense. Arizona 19th, tied with Philadelphia. Arizona is better at home, though, and the Red Sox are actually better on the road. So these teams' offenses are actually in their worst of their splits here, but I don't care because the pitching here looks real ugly. Merrill Kelly is pitching for Arizona. Bad season for him. 5.11 ERA, 1.48 whip. It's definitely been his worst season of his career. And yes, he is actually better on the road, 4.27 road ERA, but he's not pitching well. He has an 11-11 strikeout walk ratio this month. Yeah, that's not good. After he had a pretty good month of July, this month has not gone well for him. And yeah, he only gave up 1 run against the Dodgers in there, but he got blasted by Cleveland and Colorado, not in Coors Field. Not a good sign. Not a good sign. And the Red Sox have been able to get to him in 34 career at-bats. They have a 382 average against him, 1,065 OPS, 9-4 strikeout walk ratio. So the Red Sox have been able to do damage against Merrill Kelly. On the other side, the Red Sox have Ronyer Suárez pitching. He's had a good season, 3.25 ERA, 1.19 whip. He's not as good at home, 3.86 home ERA. But there's something wrong with Suárez. Like, the Red Sox have been winning his games, but since he came back from that groin injury or whatever it was, he missed most of July. He's only made it 5 innings once. And he's had a couple of bad outings in here, allowing 3 runs in some short stints here against the Dodgers and the White Sox. I understand those are better offenses than Arizona, but something seems off about Suárez right now, man. His strikeout rate's kind of gone down a little bit in these most recent starts. He's not going deep, and that means the Red Sox bullpen might have to come in and pitch more of this game. I mean, I understand the Red Sox are kind of trying to ease Suárez back from his injury, but they've limited his pitches every time. So I don't know what the deal is here. And he's also awful against Arizona. Arizona has a huge sample size against him, a 104 at-bat sample size. They have a 404 batting average against him. I've never seen anything like that in that big of a sample size. And yes, I know Marte actually absolutely destroys him. He's 10 for 24 off him. But it's not just him that does the damage. Like, even if you take him out, they still hit like 400 off him. So it's not just him doing all this damage here. And they have a 1,013 OPS against him, 14-6 strikeout walk ratio. Yeah, I think it's an over. Both starting pitcher matchup numbers look really bad to me. 63% of tickets, 93% of the cash on the over. I don't trust either starter here. The total is pretty reasonable at 8. I know there are some drawbacks here where Kelly does pitch better on the road at least, but he's been awful recently. And yeah, the hitting for both teams is in the wrong side of their home road splits, but I just don't care. I mean, the game went over yesterday, so the pitching setup looks very over conducive to me. And the money is backing the worst pitcher, Merrill Kelly, so that tells you something, 93% of tickets, although I usually say that means an under, but in this case, I don't really think so. 93% of tickets, 61% of the cash on the Red Sox. Red Sox are a heavy favorite at minus 160 something here. I would not back the Red Sox, I'll tell you that. I don't trust Suárez in this matchup here. Given what he's been doing recently, I don't really fully trust him either. But yeah, let's take the game over. I think it should get there. There are numerous ways that it can hit with a total that's not really that high. So that's the final play that I have here. San Diego and the Mets. This looks like an under type of series here. It was a very low-scoring game yesterday. My lean in that game was the Mets first 5 yesterday, which I believe did win. They held on and won 2-1 yesterday. I believe they were winning at the end of 5 as well. Nolan McLean with another good start for the Mets, I believe, yesterday. The Mets used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. San Diego only used 1. So these are good bullpens again coming into this one. They're reasonably rested. San Diego's the 9th ranked bullpen, but I think they're a top 5 bullpen. The Mets are not that far behind. The Mets are actually ranked 5th. Although I think they're a little bit worse than that. But these are 2 good bullpens here with decent rest. These are 2 offenses that have not been good this year. San Diego 23rd, Mets 26th. And they're playing better recently offensively, but they're still not good. Robbie Ray is pitching for San Diego. They picked him up from San Francisco at the trade deadline. He's got an all right ERA, 3.28, but his whip is not that good, 1.33. And last year he had a good season with the Giants until after the All-Star break. He was really bad for the Giants last year, and I think we're seeing a similar thing here where he had a good season this year, and I think he got named to the All-Star team again, if I'm not mistaken, and he's been kind of bad since then. He's also not good on the road, so both San Francisco and San Diego have pitcher-friendly parks, but on the road, 4.06 road ERA. That's not that good. He's made 2 starts with San Diego so far, and he's been kind of bad. 8 walks and 6 strikeouts over 9 innings. That's bad. He's walking almost 1 guy an inning since San Diego's picked him up, and he's allowed 6 runs in 9 innings. Yeah, that's not good. He's only made it 5 innings in 1 of the 2 starts. More walks than strikeouts. A lot to not like here with Ray. Ray does have a pretty low hit rate here. His walk rate is way too high, though, and his strikeout rate is also low, so his strikeout walk ratio is really ugly. Below 2. That's not good. Strikeout per 9 is okay-ish, in the 7s basically on the season, but I don't trust Ray. He seems like he's falling apart at the end of the season like he did last year. He does have good numbers against the Mets in 86 at-bats, 186 average, 614 OPS, 28-5 strikeout walk ratio. Those are good numbers, but I don't really fully trust him on the road. By the way, I did forget to go into the overall numbers here for like Merrill Kelly here just Merrill Kelly in general. He has too high of a hit rate. He walks way too many guys. He allows a ton of home runs, which is not going to be a good thing in Fenway Park probably. He's kind of a fly ball pitcher, and his strikeout rate's really low, so that's what you get with Merrill Kelly. He has a really ugly strikeout walk ratio this year, the worst that he's ever posted. So too many walks and not enough strikeouts, and his strikeout per 9 has gone way down this year too, so he seems to be losing it at the end of his career. And for Ron Suárez, yeah, his overall numbers are definitely better. He's not really that hittable. He doesn't really walk many guys. And he does have a good strikeout rate, but there's something off with him since that groin injury. Although his numbers look okay here. Strikeout walk ratio, not bad. Strikeout per 9, not bad. Actually pretty good. But again, it's about the matchup as well and the current form of those pitchers. And, yeah, I think the over makes the most sense there. Anyway, back to the Mets here. Mets are going with Zach Thornton. I've backed him a few times this year. He's pitching well. He's a young pitcher. I think this is his rookie season, if it even counts as that. 2.78 ERA, 1.1 whip. He's been pretty good at home, 2.63 home ERA. He's continuing to pitch well. You don't have to worry about him wearing down because he hasn't thrown many innings at all yet. He's got a low hit rate, pretty low walk rate. His strikeout rate's not good, though. So he allows very few runs, doesn't put a lot of guys on base. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every start that he's made, but he doesn't strike guys out. So the advanced analytics guys are not going to like him because that means his strikeout per 9, strikeout walk ratio, those are not good numbers. But he's still pitching effectively, and he's never been seen before by San Diego, and they are not a great offense. So I think Thornton should be able to pitch well again. here, given that he has the unfamiliarity. San Diego will have to figure him out on the fly. He's better at home. Robbie Ray is worse on the road. I like the Mets in this one again. Although the money doesn't agree with me, but to me it looks, again, too easy to take San Diego because everybody knows San Diego's fighting for a playoff spot, whatever. The Mets are just playing out the stretch. The Mets have the worst record, so why would you want to play the Mets? San Diego's a small favorite here around a pick 'em. They are getting the money, 55% of tickets, 67% of the cash on them. But I would lean towards the Mets. I think Thornton has the upper, probably first 5, though, because their bullpen probably does not have the advantage. But yeah, Mets first 5, again, I think is the play. They're probably a favorite in the first 5, but I think that's probably the way to look at that game. Money is also back in the under 8.5. I probably wouldn't disagree. I think there are more indicators towards an under than an over here. Both pitchers might have a good matchup here at least. And you're looking at bad offenses and good bullpen. So I think the under does make some sense as well here. But yeah, I think the Mets first 5, again, would be my lean in that one, although it was close yesterday. A's in Kansas City, I was correct about it being an over yesterday, 9-5. Working 9-5. The Royals got the win yesterday, 9-5. Which, it was Michael Wacha pitching in that one. He outpitched Barnett in the game, but I expected both pitching staffs to have issues, and that was the case. Both bullpens are bad. Kansas City used 5 relief pitchers yesterday. The A's used 3, but these are bad bullpens. Kansas City's ranked dead last in whip. The A's have by far the worst ERA and are second worst whip. So these are the 2 worst bullpens in baseball, but I think the A's are the absolute worst probably. The A's are 15th in offense. They've been okay offensively. Kansas City 22nd, not that good. The A's are going to be going with Jack Perkins here. Perkins, he does have some strikeout talent, but his numbers have been bad. 7.27 ERA, 1.52 whip, not good. He is a little bit better when you take him away from that horrible A's stadium, but still not even good on the road. 6.82 road ERA. It is better, but not good. He's gotten lit up in every start this month. He's had some issues, although his strikeout rate has been good this month, but he's been getting hammered. He's allowed a ton of home runs. He's allowed basically 2 hits per inning this month, which is ridiculous. That's not good. His hit rate is very high on the season. He also walks too many guys. He allows a decent amount of home runs as well. He strikes out a lot of guys, though. Like I said, his strikeout rate is high, and that's keeping his strikeout walk ratio fairly reasonable, and his strikeout per 9 is high, but he still puts way too many guys on base, both via the hit and the walk. That's a problem, but he does seem to have some talent here, and his whip last year was pretty good, although it was mostly out of the bullpen. His numbers against the Royals are good, but it's not a big sample. 7 at-bats, 7 hitters have faced him, 1 hit, which is a Caglianone single, 2 strikeouts, no walks, 143 average. You can do that math. 286 OPS. I still don't trust Perkins, though. He just doesn't pitch well enough. And Kansas City is going with a bullpen game. They haven't actually announced their starter, although it was going to be Lynch, and he might still be the opener here. He's got good numbers as a relief pitcher, but I wouldn't trust him. And it's going to be a Kansas City bullpen game, I think, regardless of what they do. So I think if you're going to play this game, I guess I'd probably pick Perkins must start, but not pick a Kansas City starter here. But even though Perkins might do okay here, I still think the over might be the right way to look at this game again. I mean, you got 2 bad bullpens going at it again here in this one, the 2 worst bullpens in baseball, in fact. And I wouldn't trust either pitching setup here. I mean, it's going to be a full Kansas City bullpen game, most likely. And then the A's, Perkins, who knows how long he's even going to last here. 9.5 is the total. Money is back in the under very slightly. 50% of tickets, 50-50 on the over-under, and then 51% of the cash on the under. Not a whole lot to read there. The percentages are all right around 50-50. But yeah, I think the over would be my lean again in that one. I felt probably better about yesterday's than this one. The A's over their team total is an okay way to look at this game as well, I think. Even though the money's coming in on Kansas City, taking the A's to just get some runs against Kansas City's bullpen for the entire game, that does make some sense to me as well. And you'll probably only need them to get to 4 runs, maybe 5. The money line is about minus 140 something here in favor of Kansas City, which is really crazy. Like, when is Kansas City favored by this much against anybody? And the money's coming in on them. I don't agree with that. 81% of tickets, 94% of the cash on Kansas City. I think I would lean A's first 5. I think Perkins at least has some sort of ceiling here that's better than Kansas City with a bullpen game being a favorite. I mean, come on, man. That doesn't click with me. So maybe A's first 5, but over makes way more sense to me than anything else. And this next game, as you might have guessed, was the game that I almost put on my card that I just barely left off my card. Seattle and Milwaukee. I like the under in this one. Just on the surface, it jumped out at me as being an under, like a good pitching matchup here. Both teams are rested. Neither team played yesterday, so we have good bullpens here as well. But I do have some issues with the current form of the pitchers, and that's why I'm not going to actually go through with it. But Seattle, they're better than the 17th ranking they have in the bullpen, even though they've been struggling a little bit recently, but they're rested right now. They're a capable bullpen. Milwaukee is a good bullpen. They're ranked 8th, and I think they're probably a top 5 bullpen. Milwaukee's offense has been all right at 12th. Seattle has been a bad offense, 27th, although they came alive a little bit recently. But, yeah, I mean, I think these offenses are fadeable when they're facing good pitchers. Bryce Miller is pitching for Seattle. He's had a good season. Shortened by injury, but a good season. 3.39 ERA, 0.99 whip is very good. However, like most Seattle pitchers, his numbers get significantly worse on the road, which is another thing that worries me a little bit, although he's not Brian Wu, and Wu has had 2 really good road starts in a row now. Miller, 4.47 road ERA, 260 opponent batting average on the road, so he is beatable on the road. He gave up some runs last time out on the road against the Yankees, although his command numbers were good there. But he's been a little bit hittable here. He's allowed some runs recently, and Seattle's actually lost his last 6 starts. And he's actually struggled in a few of them, a couple of them being on the road. So he's allowing more runs recently, so that does worry me that his form isn't excellent right now. Those command numbers are still fairly good here over his last couple starts, 10-3 over the last 2 starts. But he's not as good on the road, and he's not pitching that well right now. However, his overall numbers are good. He's got a low hit rate. He doesn't really walk anybody. His strikeout rate is pretty high, so he's got a good strikeout walk ratio. Pretty good strikeout per 9 as well, so those numbers are good. He's a talented pitcher, definitely. And he is also good against the Brewers in 24 at-bats. It's kind of a small sample. They have a 167 average, 575 OPS, 701 strikeout walk ratio. Miller has been pretty good against Milwaukee, and Kyle Harrison is going for Milwaukee. I thought I saw some stat recently where there was some scoring change in one of his outings where a bunch of runs that were initially charged to him wound up getting changed to being unearned runs because they changed some scoring after the fact to an error instead of a hit. I don't know if that's true or not. Either way, Harrison's had a good season, but he might be starting to wear down, and that's the thing with Harrison, man. He's not really up. He's not even at 100 innings yet, though. That's the thing. He threw more than this once back in 2024. So you wouldn't think he'd be wearing down yet, but there's something going on with him where his recent outings have not really been as good or as deep. But he's had a good season for sure. 3.47 ERA, 1.13 whip. He's been really good at home. 1.38 home ERA, and in fact, not very good on the road. So he is way better at home. 182 opponent batting average at home. But I don't know what's going on with him, man, because he came back from, I think he was injured. Yeah, actually, his last 2 starts before he got injured, he didn't go deep into either of them, and he didn't pitch very well against Arizona and St. Louis. Then he came back, and he blew away Pittsburgh, only for 5 innings, though. They limited his pitches, so he was actually really efficient, especially given that he had 10 strikeouts in 5 innings in that one, and he one-hit shutout them. So he looked like he was right back, ready to go. And then he completely imploded last time out in San Diego, which that is not something I would have expected at all. And that was the start I think everybody was talking about, where only 3 of the 8 runs wound up being earned, but he was still awful in that game. He didn't make it 5 innings. He gave up 10 hits, 3 walks. That was an awful outing from him, and it was against a San Diego lineup that's not very good, and it was in a pitcher-friendly park. There are some concerns with Harrison. Like, I think he will bounce back here. So I'm not going to say he is actually wearing down because his innings pitched is not that high. He's still got a low hit rate. He still has a low walk rate. His strikeout rate is still high. All these numbers are still good. He still has the best strikeout walk ratio he's posted. best strikeout per 9 that he's posted. Those numbers are all good. Going up against Seattle here, they basically haven't seen him. Naylor is the only hitter who's seen him. Josh Naylor, 2 for 6 with a couple of RBIs against him. No strikeouts, no walks. Both hits are singles. Not a lot to gauge from that. Harrison will be unfamiliar to most of Seattle's lineup. So, yeah, I would play the under here. But you see my concerns with it are that Miller is not as good on the road. He's not pitching as well recently. And Harrison, I don't know what that implosion was in that last game, man. And the money is heavily backing the over in this game, which also kind of worries me. 56% of tickets, 90% of the cash on the over. The total 7.5. So it is low. And odds makers are putting it out there like that for a reason. The odds makers think it will be a pitching duel here. I still agree. If I was going to play this game again, yeah, it would be the under. It almost made the cut for me. I would play the game under the 7.5. You could definitely get the 7.5 out there because it's 7.5 juice to the over at basically every book. So if you did want to play it, that's what I would do. It looks like an under, but I have a few concerns with it. A few too many to put it on my card, really, including the market read, really. 85% of the tickets are on Milwaukee, so Milwaukee's getting the public action. Seattle's 65% of the cash, so the money's coming in on Seattle. I think the reason for that is that they're an underdog, and they have possibly more motivation here. So they're a big underdog. It's like minus 150 on Milwaukee. They dropped for minus 160. If you think that Miller can duel with Harrison at the very least, it might make sense to look towards Seattle, at least maybe in the first 5, because Milwaukee does have a better bullpen. But by the way, the other reason for the under that makes sense is when both teams were off yesterday, I think that can rest the bullpen. Well, at first, yeah, it rests the bullpen, so the bullpens will be better off. But the hitting could cool off a little bit. And I think the hitting might cool off a little bit more because I forgot to show you the scheduling spot here. Milwaukee is returning home from the West Coast, so they just went to San Diego and L.A., and they had a big series where they beat the Dodgers 3-1. So I do agree with the Mariners side here as well, because I think it's a bad spot for Milwaukee. They're returning home from a road trip. It could be a letdown spot after they prove themselves against the other team. Milwaukee and the Dodgers have the 2 best records in baseball, and they may be the 2 best teams in baseball. That was a great series for Milwaukee, and now they're returning home from a road trip, crossing time zones, all that. Could be a negative, could be a distracted spot. They're playing, an AL team that has a losing record here. Seattle, again, they need to be winning, man. But it could be a letdown for them, too, because they did have a big series against Houston over the weekend where Seattle was able to win that series and get back in the race for their division. You know what I mean? They're not out of it yet because they were able to climb 1 game closer to Houston with that series there. Could be a letdown for them, but they're in the middle of a road trip and staying in the central time zone. So I do think Seattle, situation, it does make a lot of sense. But if you're going to play Seattle, I would play them in the first 5 only. And again, I still prefer the under in that game over the side there because I think the under does at least take into account that you think Milwaukee's hitting might be thrown off by the return home spot and whatever. That does take effect. If you play the under, you're at least taking that into account, I should say. Like, you're at least factoring in the fact that Milwaukee's offense might be a little bit cold in a spot like that. So at least there is that. All right, I'll be right back. I'll talk about the rest of these games. And then we have, I think, 4 WNBA games that I don't love by any means. I don't have any WNBA here. You got all my plays already, but I'll be right back. Yep, inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after The worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday. And yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump just continues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. All right, for Garrett, up next, we have Atlanta and Minnesota here. Minnesota won the game yesterday 4-2. Another game I was correct about that wasn't on my card. I said Minnesota first 5. They won the first 5 play, and they won the full game. The bullpen somehow didn't blow it for Minnesota. Their bullpen is awful, though. Atlanta is the better bullpen. Atlanta used 3 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. Minnesota used 4. Atlanta is ranked 2nd in bullpen. I think they're the 3rd best bullpen. Minnesota is 28th, not good. Possibly the 3rd worst bullpen, maybe the 4th worst, whatever. If Colorado might be worse or something, I don't know. Hitting-wise, Atlanta is also better in that department. They're 10th. Minnesota not too far behind at 13th. Atlanta is tied with Detroit right now. Atlanta has Tyler Mahle pitching here. He's been shockingly good with Atlanta so far, even though I don't really think he's that good. Maybe being on a contending team has pumped him up because he had a pretty bad season for the Giants. He's got a 4.64 ERA overall, 1.32 whip this season. He's been awful on the road as well, 7.07 road ERA with a 3.07 opponent batting average. So I would not trust him here, even though I didn't trust him in that game against the Yankees, and we got the win with the Yankees, but it had to happen really late after Mahle. We got really lucky in that one. Mahle was really good in that game on the road at the Yankees. I'm less surprised that he was good at home against the Mets. That made more sense because the Mets are not really a good offense, and that was a home game for him. I still don't know if he's actually going to continue to be good on the road, though, or maybe he just got really pumped up for that game against the Yankees. But, yeah, he's been really good in both of his starts with Atlanta so far. It's interesting, but do what you want with that. He's in good form right now. There's no question about that, but he's not good on the road, and he's not good against Minnesota. They have 64 at-bats against him, a 281 average, 780 OPS, 14-6 strikeout walk ratio. So I still would not trust him here, even though he is in good form, and his good form kind of keeps me away from whatever I would do here. But I would actually be leaning Minnesota first 5 again here, or towards the over. Those are, I think, the 2 ways to look at this game. But Mahle, I don't want to fade him in his current form, though. Zebby Matthews is pitching for Minnesota. Not great. 5.34 ERA. 1.35 whip at least indicates maybe his ERA should be a little bit lower than it is. He's good at home, though. 3.35 home ERA. So the home road splits, just like I said with Ober yesterday, the home road splits favor Minnesota starter here. Matthews, I mean, he's been okay recently, good enough that the Twins have won his last 3 starts, had a lot of strikeouts in one of them against Seattle. He's only going 5 innings regularly here, like exactly 5 innings in all these starts, and he's keeping his team in the game, allowing not that many runs, but he's getting a decent amount of run support here. His hit rate is still too high. His walk rate is fine. His strikeout rate's a little bit low. So his strikeout walk ratio is just okay. It's actually lower this year than it was last year, which maybe isn't good. His strikeout per 9 has actually gone down. I was going to say, I thought he was a good strikeout pitcher. He was in the past, but this year, something going on where his strikeout rate's not as good. His numbers against Atlanta are non-existent, kind of. Lane Thomas is 1 for 2 with a home run off him and a strikeout, but other than that, nobody has faced him. So Matthews will be unfamiliar to the opposing offense here. So that might give him a little bit of an edge as well with the unfamiliarity. Mahle, by the way, over the course of the season has a hit rate that's okay. He doesn't really walk that many guys, and he strikes out a decent amount of guys. So those numbers across the board are actually reasonable. His strikeout walk ratio is around 3, which is like not too bad. And his strikeout per 9, I think, is like an okay number. Yeah. So Mahle, yeah, I mean, I guess he is a little bit better than his numbers make him look, but he's still a disaster on the road typically. Matthews better at home. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd lean Minnesota first 5 again here. I think that might be the way to look at this. I would not disagree with the over in this game either. Let me see. Money seems to be backing Atlanta, though, even though they're minus 130 about here. 78% of tickets, 94% of the cash on them. Minnesota has more urgency, though. You know what I mean? Like, Atlanta's definitely making the playoffs. Minnesota needs to play with more urgency because they're trying to make the playoffs here. So the urgency plus being an underdog at home, that kind of helps the case for Minnesota a little bit here as well. And the money is backing the over a little bit. 55% of tickets, 61% of the cash on it at 8.5. So, yeah, the over makes some sense to me there as well. All right, Chicago on TBS. The Cubs got the win yesterday, 7-5. I think the Cubs bullpen might have given up some runs there late. I'm not sure that Imanaga was necessarily bad in the game yesterday, but I thought the Cubs would win, which they did. The White Sox might have been in a little bit of a letdown spot after their big series against the Tigers, where they swept them. The Cubs, both teams still with something to play for here. Both teams still playing for like playoff positioning, whatever, although the Cubs are pretty much guaranteed to be in the playoffs at this point. The White Sox are not necessarily, even though they gave themselves some padding in their division. Yesterday, they gave one back, though, because they lost and the Tigers won yesterday. The Cubs used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. They're the somewhat better bullpen over the White Sox. The White Sox used 4 as well. Cubs are the 11th ranked bullpen. The White Sox are ranked 15th. White Sox actually have the better ERA, so it is pretty close between the two bullpens. Cubs are the 3rd ranked offense. The White Sox are 9th, so the Cubs probably have a slight edge in both of those departments, in my opinion, but not much. However, the White Sox are going with a bullpen game in this one. Brian Hudson is listed as the starter, but if you're going to play this game, I would play Gausman must start for the Cubs. Don't pick a starter for the White Sox because it's going to be probably a lot of Eric Fedde in this game, knowing how the rotation works for the White Sox here. Hudson, he's not going to pitch that much. Like, his numbers are all right pitching out of the bullpen, but he's basically only going to give you an inning here. He's going to be the opener, and I'm almost certain that Eric Fedde is pitching in this game, and he'll just come in after the opener here. He's not even listed in their depth chart here, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think it is going to be Fedde here. But even if it isn't, I mean, it's not like you're going to necessarily get good pitching from the White Sox in this game. Probably not, but Fedde has not been very good. 4.51 ERA, 1.41 whip. He's not pitching well recently. His team has lost his last 4 appearances. More walks than strikeouts over that span. Not a lot to like here. High hit rate, high walk rate, low strikeout rate, a lot of home runs allowed. Strikeout per 9, not going to be good. No, it is not. And or strikeout walk ratio, but strikeout per 9 also not good. None of those numbers are good. And he's also not good against the Cubs in 91 at bats, 308 average, 919 OPS, 21-9 strikeout walk ratio. So I think we can expect him to be in this game and get like kind of a starter's workload-ish. And I don't think that's good for Chicago, but for the White Sox. And if they put somebody else in, I don't think it's going to help their case that much. This game is on TV, by the way, on TBS. So it's the big, intercity series here, or whatever you want to call it. Kevin Gausman is pitching for the Cubs. They got him at the trade deadline from Toronto. 4.53 ERA, 1.27 whip. I think he's a little bit better than this, but he was good early in the season, but then he started getting worse as the season progressed. He's been mostly better at home this year, 3.68 home ERA, but his opponent batting average at home has been worse. And he's only made 2 starts so far with the Cubs. One was good at Kansas City. The other was not so good. He got hit around by the Washington Nationals last time out. However, he does have an 11-2 strikeout walk ratio so far with the Cubs, so his command has been good. He hasn't been walking anybody since joining the Cubs. And we know Washington's a good offense, too. And White Sox, yeah, they're pretty good, but Washington's better than that. So maybe Gausman does bounce back here, but this is going to be his first start in Wrigley Field. Actually, he pitched in Wrigley against the Cubs back in the middle of June, and he was horrific in that game. He gave up 7 runs in 2 innings. So, yeah, he might not pitch well in Wrigley. Maybe not. I don't know, man. It might not be a good environment. After that, I don't know why they would have gone out and gotten him, to be honest. But, well, I kind of do, because the Cubs have too many injuries in their starting rotation. So that's why. Gausman has been good against the White Sox. They have 41 at-bats against him, 171 average, 478 OPS, 12-2 strikeout walk ratio. By the way, he isn't good against the Cubs. He is. What? I was thinking he wasn't good against the Cubs, and that was why he gave it up in that game against Wrigley, or that game against the Cubs in Wrigley. But that makes it worse. You know, it looks like he might not pitch well in this stadium. I don't know. Matchup-wise, it looks like the Cubs should win this game again. Like, I would rather have Gaussman, and his matchup numbers look better as well. I would rather have him than Eric Fetty / a bullpen game for the White Sox. I'd rather be on Gaussman, but the money doesn't agree with it. They're about minus 160 something right now, down from minus 170. So some real money looks like it has come in on the White Sox. 87% of tickets, 80% of the cash on the Cubs. So the money's fading them. The money is back in the over pretty strongly. And maybe that's the way to play this. 50-50 on the tickets, 91% of the cash on the over. The total's at 9 or 8.5. So it looks like as far as Wrigley games, I don't know what that means as far as the wind. Probably not extreme wind blowing out, but maybe light wind blowing out maybe, or something along those lines here. If the total's at 9, I'm not really entirely sure about that. The over might make the most sense here, right? Because Gaussman has struggled in the stadium. Didn't look good last time out. I don't think you're going to get much out of the White Sox bullpen. However, maybe the better way to do this is a Cubs team total over, because they're almost definitely going to score runs off whatever the White Sox are doing here. Gaussman seems more unpredictable to me here. Like, he has good matchup numbers, but looks like he's not good in the stadium. So Cubs team total over might make some sense here as well, though you probably need him to get to 6 in the game, and they did yesterday, although just barely. So just, some thoughts on that game. Washington at Texas. This does not look like a good pitching matchup, so needless to say, this is not going to be one of my Texas under games here. Texas, we know they play a lot of unders at home. Texas is playing some bad baseball right now. They're trying to make the playoffs. They could still win their division. They could still make a wild card spot, but they have lost 5 of their last 6 games. They're playing poorly right now, and they're returning home from a road trip, so that's not good. So team in bad form right now, plus returning home from the West Coast, where they were gone for a week in Anaheim and then in Sacramento to play the A's. That's not good, so I think it's a negative spot for Texas. The return home spot could be a distraction. Washington, one thing that they're known for is being good on the road, although Texas is better at home as well. Washington's been better on the road than at home. Washington is coming in the middle of a road trip here where they just got swept by the Mets, which is really ugly. So Washington's definitely in a better spot here. After getting swept by the Mets, they might want to bounce back from that and win. It looks like Abrams, I guess, is not happy about being moved to second base from shortstop. He's pulling a Rafael Devers here, man. It's like, dude, like, if you're a team player, you're going to do what the team needs you to do. You know what I mean? Like, make the move to second base, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And obviously they want to keep his bat in the lineup. I don't know. But to me, it looks like a bounce. This is probably overblown, though. A nice skull necklace, by the way. Nice bling there. I don't know how that doesn't get in the way when you're trying to play baseball. Imagine if you slide and that thing goes right into your neck and it, like, chokes you and you die. That would be kind of ridiculous. Anyway, Washington, I think it's a bounce-back spot for them. I think it's a bad spot for Texas. So the situation, to me, favors Washington. Problem is, Washington's bullpen is very bad, so I wouldn't want to back them, even though they are rested here. Texas hasn't been good out of the bullpen this year. They're 20th, but they're still better than Washington. 26th, and one of the worst bullpens in baseball. Washington's better offensively. They're number 2. Very good on offense. Although maybe they won't be so good on offense here in Texas. Texas 21st offensively. They have not been good offensively. Jackson Kent is making his second major league start for Washington, and the first one did not go well. But he's a young guy, so maybe you could chalk that up to nerves, and he was facing the Cubs, which the Cubs are a much better offense than Texas is. So maybe Kent will have an easier time in the game today, but he was not good against the Cubs. He walked 5 guys in 4 innings. However, the one good thing is he struck out a lot of guys. 6 strikeouts, so he does look like he has some strikeout stuff there. So maybe Kent isn't quite that bad, but he's got to get his command fixed because that was bad. But obviously Texas hasn't seen him before. He's a young talent. Maybe he could pitch well against an offense that hasn't seen him before. Cal Quantrill is pitching for Texas. He's had a decent season. He's pitching serviceably. He's been pitching out of the bullpen a lot this year, but also making starts. However, I think if you want to play this game, I would probably pick Kent must start for Washington, but don't pick a starter for Texas here because they might put an opener in front of Quantrill or something like that. He's been okay. Like I said, 3.44 ERA, 1.2 whip. He's a little bit worse at home in some ways, 3.57 ERA, but his batting average against is actually better at home at 226. Went 5 innings last time out, held Anaheim to 1 run, but he walked 3 guys in the outing. So he put a lot of guys on base that just didn't score against him. Struck out a decent amount of guys. Maybe he got kind of lucky there. Although his starts have been decent recently. He's made some shorter appearances as well, but he's allowed 1 or fewer earned runs in 4 straight appearances. I don't think he's that good, though his hit rate is pretty low here. He doesn't really walk that many guys, but he strikes out nobody. So, of course, the advanced analytics guys will tell you he stinks because he doesn't strike anybody out. His strikeout walk ratio is not, it's better than you would, it's not good, but it's better than you would think based on how few strikeouts he gets because he also doesn't walk anybody. His strikeouts per 9 are okay, but I've never thought that Quantrill was that good. He's kind of like a journeyman spot starter, long relief type of guy. He's, if you're going to fade Texas, he is a guy that I think is fadeable. And he's going up against a good Washington offense that has had some success against him. Only 4 of their hitters have faced him, including Abrams, by the way, who has a home run against them. They have 26 at-bats, 308 average, 819 OPS, 3-2 strikeout walk ratio. So I think I would probably lean Washington first 5 here, man. Then you're taking advantage of having a situational edge here, being the better road team as well, or being the better, being a team that's better on the road for Washington. I don't want their bullpen involved, obviously. The money is strongly indicating on Washington. 76% of tickets on Texas, 80% of the cash on Washington. So, the money is indicating towards Washington very strongly. Texas is in the minus 140s here after they open almost minus 160. So, the money looks like it is coming in on Washington. I'd play them in the first 5, like I said. It's a bit of a gamble because you really have no idea what you're going to get out of Kent here. And I also would not disagree with the over in this game, even though I know it's in Texas. Texas has been playing fewer unders in their stadium recently, though. The total's at 8, and the pitching just doesn't seem trustworthy to me throughout this game. I don't fully trust either starter here or either bullpen, so I think the over makes some sense as well. Washington, because of the situation, I might prefer the Washington side a little bit there, but you can't include their bullpen, like I said. So Washington first 5 as an underdog makes sense. Anaheim at Houston. Houston's going to be motivated. They did just lose a big series to the Mariners. They're staying at home, but Houston's trying to stay atop their division here. They're trying to make the playoffs. Anaheim, at least, I think they'll be motivated too, though, because they just lost to Kansas City, which is embarrassing. They're now going out on the road, and Anaheim actually at least hits better on the road than they do at home. Starting a road trip usually is a focus spot, and Anaheim might show up because they want to play spoiler against a divisional foe here. So Anaheim, I don't think, is going to overlook this game, but the motivation probably does lie with Houston a bit. But if you want Houston, you got to pay a big price with them. Both these teams rested yesterday, but Houston has the better offense. Houston has the better, well, they have the better offense for sure, but they also have the better bullpen, which is what I'm looking at here. Houston's number 10 in bullpen. Anaheim is 22nd. Offense also goes to Houston. They're ranked 7th. Anaheim is pretty bad at 28th, although they're better on the road, like I said, but still not good. Pitching in this game looks very ugly, though. George Klassen is making another start for Anaheim here. He is actually pitching a little bit better over his last couple of starts. He seems like he's improving a little bit. He's a young guy, but he hasn't pitched well yet. 5.52 ERA, but his 2.11 whip is real bad, real ugly, and he's been not good on the road at all. 7.5 road ERA. Good last time out, though. At home against Texas, he actually pitched well. He went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, 1 walk. So he got his command. I don't know if it was fixed, but it was way better in that start. And it made all the difference, His hit rate's a little bit high, but the walk rate is enormous. He's walking more than 1 guy an inning, but after walking 4+ guys in his first 3 starts, only walking 1 guy against Texas, he's trending in the right direction, and maybe he's figuring something out. And he only allowed 1 run against Miami the time before that, and he seems to be going a little bit deeper every time he goes out there as well, so that's interesting. That's not bad. Still, the walks definitely are a concern because he's been walking way too many guys. His strikeout rate is decent, but the walks are so bad that his strikeout walk ratio is still bad. But strikeouts per 9, not bad. He's going up against a Houston team that has never faced him before, so he might have an extra edge there because they're unfamiliar with them. I wouldn't totally write Clausen off here, but I don't know if I fully trust him, I mean, his command has still been bad, and I don't know how much to take away from that one outing, but maybe he is trending in the right direction. It's hard to know. Christian Javier is pitching for Houston. He's had his career derailed by injuries, man. Like, he was good a little bit, earlier in his career, 2021, 2022, he was good. 2022, mostly as a starter with Houston, he was good. Since then, he really hasn't done much, though. He had a mediocre 2023, and since then, he's been basically injured the entire time. His overall numbers over his career still look good, but he's still trying to somehow find his way back, and maybe he never will. I have no idea, man, because just since the injuries have cropped up, he's never really been able to pitch well again. 6.68 ERA, 1.7 whip this year, obviously not good. He's slightly better at home, but not by much. 6.59 home ERA. He's bad either way. He's been a little bit better recently, sort of, and that he's not getting completely blown up, but still giving up 4 runs last time out in San Diego. That's still not a good sign. That's not a good offense in a pitcher-friendly park. He's got a high hit rate, high walk rate. Strikeout rate looks a little bit low. None of those numbers are good. Strikeout walk ratio is bad. Strikeout per 9, also not really that good. Not a lot to like with Javier here, really. Against Anaheim, he has been good against them. Their offense isn't very good. 78 at-bats, 167 average allowed, 526 OPS, 28-8 strikeout walk ratio. Still, a lot of those numbers are in the past, though. I just don't really see how these pitchers are trustworthy, even though you look at the matchups here, given that Clausen is unfamiliar, Javier has good numbers, at least against Anaheim. It almost looks like that would be an indicator of an under, but I don't think so. I think I would lean towards the over here. I just don't see this being good pitching. And that was my first instinct before I looked at the matchup numbers. And of course, the matchup numbers are keeping me off of this game. Sort of. I don't think I would play the over anyway if I was playing. I was not going to play this game anyway. Let's put it that way. If I was going to play this game, though, the over makes some sense to me, though. The total's at 9, so it is high. 50-50 on the tickets, 93% of the cash on the over. So the money seems to be indicating that way. Do with that what you want. And the money is strongly indicating on Anaheim as well. 87% of the tickets on Houston, 76% of the cash on Anaheim. Houston is at minus 160 something, down from minus 170. So the money has come in on Anaheim. Again, I think because the feeling is that Houston is too heavily priced, given that everybody knows Houston has something to play for and they're trying to win. It's one of those, not really a must win, but it's one of those situations where everybody knows they're the team that has motivation, and the odds makers have jacked up the price on them. I'm not really sure you could really make the argument that Javier should be that much of a favorite there, even though Houston is the better team. There's no question about that. But yeah, I mean, taking Anaheim as the dog. If you're going to take Anaheim, I would only take them in the first 5 because they do not have a bullpen advantage. So you could take them maybe plus the half run in the first 5 or something. But that's a game I really want to avoid. To me, it's one of the most confusing games. It's highly unpredictable. And then we have Dodgers at Colorado. The Dodgers won easily yesterday. Sugano, I don't think had it yesterday. But again, can you blame him against the Dodgers? Although the advanced analytics guys will be cheering, yeah, we were right. After all, Sugano finally wasn't good. I told you his numbers are bad against the Dodgers. I told you if I was going to play that game, I was still leaning towards just laying the run line with the Dodgers, and they did win by margin, 11-5. Colorado was also in a return home spot from a long road trip, so that made it more of a negative for them as well. Now, when a team returns home and they don't do well, a lot of times they will bounce back in the next game. And we know Colorado's been very competitive against the Dodgers this year for the most part. So it's a positive spot for Colorado here. I don't know if I really want to back Ryan Feltner here, though. Although the Dodgers are going with Lauer, and he is one of their more fade-worthy pitchers, I would say, at the very least. Although I know he's been good with them. Dodgers used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. They're the better bullpen. The Rockies used 2, but Dodgers are the better bullpen, even though they're not great. They're 12th. Colorado is one of the worst. They're 27th. Dodgers are back atop the offensive standings at number 1. Colorado number 5. This isn't Coors Field, so we might see a lot of offense here. And the pitching is not exactly elite. Like I said, Eric Lauer is pitching for the Dodgers. He had a bad season with Toronto this year, but he's been good with the Dodgers pretty much since they got him. So he's a little bit hard to figure out, although I still don't think he's that good. But he has a 4.67 ERA, 1.24 whip, mediocre numbers on the season. Not as good on the road, 5.06 road ERA, so that's not great. Had one bad start. Like, since he's been with the Dodgers, he's been good, and he's actually faced Colorado twice, and he did pretty well in both of those outings, but they were both in L.A., so he hasn't pitched in Coors Field since they got him. But the Dodgers have won all but one of his starts since they got him, so they've been winning with Lauer on the mound. He had one really bad start against the Cubs, but other than that, he's been good with them. He bounced back with a nice start last time out, but it was against Kansas City in LA. Kansas City, very bad offense on the road. So I'm not going to say that Lauer is like completely backable here. You look at his numbers on the season, his hit rate is okay. He doesn't really walk that many guys, but he doesn't strike anybody out, and he allows a lot of home runs, which is not good when you're going to pitch at Coors Field. A lot of home runs allowed, and he's a very fly ball heavy pitcher, so that's not good for pitching at Coors Field. His strikeout walk ratio is not really that good here this year. It's been a lot better with the Dodgers than it was with Toronto, though. Strikeout per 9 has actually gotten worse, believe it or not, with the Dodgers than it was with Toronto this year. So that's somewhat concerning as well. That's a little weird. His numbers are not great against Colorado. They have a 300 average against him, but they haven't really hit him for power. 740 OPS. That's still pretty average, though. 11 strikeouts, no walks, and 50 at-bats. That's good, but the rest of these numbers, I don't think I want to trust Lauer here, man. In this stadium, and his matchup numbers aren't really that good. Ryan Feltner is pitching for Colorado. He's not great. 5.59 ERA, 1.48 whip. He's a little bit worse at home. Well, his ERA is slightly worse, but actually his opponent batting average is actually better at home. So Feltner is actually not one of the guys that is that much worse in Coors Field because he's not that heavy of a fly ball pitcher, although his home run rate's still not really that good. But he does induce a decent amount of ground balls. However, he's not really good. I mean, his hit rate is too high. His walk rate isn't really very good. His strikeout rate is also low. None of these numbers are good, although he's kind of keeping his team in games recently and not allowing that many runs. Still, he has a low strikeout walk ratio, not good. Low strikeout per 9, not very good. Against the Dodgers, he actually is pretty good against the Dodgers, believe it or not. 225 average, allowed 664 OPS in 89 at-bats, but a terrible strikeout walk ratio, 15-17. So kind of a mystery how he hasn't allowed more to the Dodgers than he has. I mean, I think the over is still kind of worth considering here, although Feltner, you know, given his matchup numbers, Colorado is not out of the question as a play here. Like Colorado in the first 5. Well, the last time I said that, it was not good. It wasn't a play or anything. Colorado is very, very difficult to back, but maybe. I mean, the Dodgers are a very public team. 94% of tickets, 95% of the cash on them. Heavily public side. They're about minus 180. So if you want to take Colorado, I would say do it in the first 5 because you want to avoid their bullpen. But Feltner has the better matchup numbers, and he's more suited to Coors Field at least, in that he doesn't allow as many fly balls as Lauer does. So you might be able to get away with it. Colorado plus the half run or something in the first 5, maybe. Full game total is 11.5, and the money is back in the over. 58% of tickets, 93% of the cash on the over. I get it. I mean, I don't think either bullpen is really that good. Colorado, definitely not. And neither starting pitcher is anything great either. So I think there are more indicators towards an over than an under. But you're over that key number of 11 here. It's 11.5. Maybe kind of dangerous to try to play it at that number. Not a play for me, obviously, in that game at all. But that is it for baseball, finally. It takes way too long to go through baseball, man. And then we have WNBA. I'm not interested in any of these games here, but I'll talk about them. LA at Connecticut. Connecticut, bad team. Connecticut also maybe not in a great spot because they just played the Liberty pretty close. Connecticut had a nice bounce back from a terrible performance against Atlanta. I thought they would play better against New York, and they did. They came back, and they got that game pretty close late in the game. So I think it could be a flat spot now for Connecticut after that because they played really tough against New York, and they do have Vegas next, which is going to be a big game as well. starting a road trip. So possible they overlook this LA team that just hasn't been anything good this year and traded away Plum and whatever. So not a great spot for Connecticut. It's kind of a sandwich spot here, and they definitely might be flat off of that game against New York. I don't think I'd really want to play LA here either. Although LA, I mean, they've lost 4 games in a row, and they might want to salvage the last game of the road trip here. After they lost to New York as well on the road trip, they lost to Washington, who's a decent team last time out. So Connecticut is definitely going to be the easiest opponent they've faced on this road trip. That's not saying much. I mean, that's not saying anything we don't know already, I should say, because Connecticut sucks. But I think I'd slightly lean LA here, trying to salvage the last game of the road trip at the very least. But you're going to be laying a price with them on the road. The money, actually, it looks, I would not do it. It looks way too easy, although I would not want to play Connecticut. I think the spot's bad for Connecticut. I'm still leaning LA here, but it looks way too easy to play them. At -1.5, it looks so easy. Basically just a pick the winner price. You can't do that. 87% of tickets, 87% of the cash on LA. Odds makers are kind of signaling to you something with that line. Like they're almost begging you to take LA. So I would not do that either. I don't have anything else on that game. It is the lowest total on the board at -169.5. Connecticut can't score, but LA's defense is bad. So Connecticut might be able to score a little bit against LA. But yeah, I'm not going to trust Connecticut in a spot like that. No way. So yeah, that game is a stay away from me completely. I lean LA, but I really don't like the market set up there at all. Indiana at Toronto. This is an ESPN game here. And you know, every team is gunning for Indiana, not just because they're hyped, but because everybody hates Sophie Cunningham now, and it's become this ridiculous political thing. By the way, Reddit is now banning people from mentioning Sophie Cunningham's name, or at least the WNBA subreddit is. Reddit is just so bad, dude. It's just like a leftist, like, hellhole of a social media site. It's so ridiculous. I haven't been on there for years for obvious reasons. It's so bad. It's just, yeah. I don't know, man. Reddit is just a totally toxic place. Toronto's lost a bunch of games in a row, man, so nobody's going to want them. They've lost whatever this is. 10 games in a row. My problem with Toronto is they're returning home from a road trip, though. They just went out to the Pacific Coast. They've been on the road for like almost 2 weeks. They've been on the road for, yeah, actually more than 2 weeks. What am I saying? Yeah, they've been on the road for over 2 weeks. So you know I talk about that. When a team is returning home from a road trip, I think it's a negative. They have to get back to home life. However, they've spent basically the last week already at home, so that might help them get that home stuff out of the way. So it's not all negative. Like sometimes I will say that the return home spot, when you have rest like that, it is still a negative. In this case, maybe it's not, because having a big break like this might end your losing streak. You know what I mean? Like when things are not going well for you, having a break is actually good. So it's not all negative, even though I hate the return home spot still. I don't really love it. Toronto should get up for this game because it is a home game on ESPN. They don't get that many of those home games on TV, and it's against the team they will get up for in Indiana. Indiana's playing some good basketball right now, so nobody's going to want to fade Indiana here. They're playing hot. They've won 4 games in a row. They've won 9 of their last 11, I think is what that is. Not a good spot for Indiana. They have way less rest here. Like since Toronto was last played, Indiana beat Dallas, which was a big win, rallied late to pull away with that win, and then they just had a tough game at Atlanta and beat them in overtime. Big game against Atlanta as well. Now they're coming off of that. They're playing Toronto, and up next they get Dallas again and then New York. Those are bigger games, so it's kind of a sandwich spot here for Indiana, man. So I think I would lean to Toronto here, even though it is the return home spot. They have more rest, and they're not going to overlook Indiana, and the market does agree here. 82% of tickets, 67% of the cash on Atlanta. They're laying 10.5 here, so you're getting a big number with Toronto here. One problem with it is the total is really high at 190.5. Both teams are really bad defensively. So, I mean, an over wouldn't shock me, but Toronto, I would like the over a lot more if both teams are kind of well, not just in bad spots, but if Toronto didn't have all that rest, because their rest might help their defense a little bit and take their offense out of rhythm a little bit, you know. So Normally, this matchup does kind of look like an over-conducive matchup, but I wouldn't do it, and the total's really high at 190.5. But that makes me worry a little bit about taking points as well. Plus, I still don't love the return home spot, but yes, I think it might be the best play on the WNBA board, though, to be honest, is to just take the points with Toronto, and the money does agree with it, like I said. So Toronto plus 10.5 might be the best WNBA lean of the night here. New York is at Chicago. Chicago, they've lost a lot of games, but they do play competitively in a lot of their losses, so they're not that bad of a team. They've covered and almost covered for us most of the times that I've played them. They did just end a 3-game losing streak with a win against Seattle. Problem is, usually that'll give you new momentum, but the problem is they're returning home from a road trip, and you know I don't like that. They've only had 2 days off. They're having to cross time zones here, although they are playing a later game time-wise here, so that might kind of help them if they're still not adjusted. But going east is always easier anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. But it is still a return home spot. They were away for more than a week, or basically a week, so I don't like that. You know, the return home spot, still generally a negative spot, even though I've had some situations where I do lean to that team, like with Toronto here, and like with Seattle in the first game of Chicago's road trip, and that wound up being correct. So, whatever, but this still, I'm not going to do anything with this game. They might get up for it because it is New York. You know, it's a return home spot, but it's not a team they're necessarily going to overlook. In fact, they probably won't. And New York, though, they're not in a bad spot. I mean, they're coming off a game where they kind of just had a get in, get out type of game against Connecticut. Didn't really pay attention to Connecticut, so that was an easy win. However, they do have a look ahead to Indiana next, and Indiana is the last team that beat them, and 2 of their last 3 losses were to Indiana. So Indiana's had their number. I think they will possibly be looking ahead to Indiana. That's going to be a prime game. That's a big game, man. Kind of a double revenge spot for New York. So that's what makes this New York spot not very good. They're public, although it looks like they're getting some of the money. 87% of tickets, 95% of the cash on them. They're minus 4.5. I don't have a great read on this. I see reasons why you might want to play either team and why you might not want to play either team. So it's a tough game for me to figure out. It's got to be a stay away from me. I might slightly lean New York here, with Chicago being the return home spot in New York coming off kind of an easy win, but that look ahead kind of looms there. New York might be looking ahead to that Indiana game, so I don't like it. And then Atlanta and Vegas. This is the second of the ESPN doubleheader here. This is the most competitive matchup of the night. Well, one that involves actual decent teams. LA and Connecticut, you could argue, is competitive, but it's 2 ugly teams. As far as Vegas, they're staying at home, but they're in kind of a negative spot because they just had a huge game against Minnesota, and it was a close game, but they fell short again against Minnesota, who was the best team in the league, so that's going to be difficult for them to get off the mat after that, you know. That was a big game for them, although this is a home game on ESPN. It's a big game for them against Atlanta, but I don't know how Vegas will respond to another close loss to Minnesota there, you know. It was a tough game for them. Vegas is not necessarily the greatest home team, although 11-6 is not bad, but for a team that's really good like that, they probably should be a little bit better at home. Atlanta is at least positive on the road. Their road record is at least above 500. However, I just told you, Atlanta's not in a good spot either because they're coming off a really difficult game against Indiana where they lost the game in overtime. That was a tough loss for them. They had to play an extra period 2 days ago. No pun intended, but maybe. And now they're coming off that really difficult game and starting a road trip. And you know I talk about this, having to go from east to west. From east to west. The Spaceman, the Killers song there. It's not good going east to west. Like, you have to adjust your biological clock to a later time. And that means you're going to be playing until like 11 p.m. your time, you know, and it could be a negative spot biologically. So I don't love that. So Atlanta's in kind of a double negative spot here, coming off a tough game, not much time off, and having to adjust to the time zone here. Vegas is coming off a tough game too, so I don't like that either. But the spot might be a little bit better for them just because they are at least staying at home. The money seems to be backing Vegas here. They're laying 3.5, 58% of tickets, 72% of the cash on them. I don't have a great read on it. The money's also backing the under, and I think Atlanta is more correlated to the under here because Atlanta is the more defensive team here. Vegas has not really actually been that good defensively this year. They've just kind of become more of an offensive team. still somewhat balanced, but Atlanta is the better defensive team. And you know me, I a lot of times do like the better defense getting points, and I think Atlanta is correlated to the under here. But again, I'd slightly lean Vegas just because I think Atlanta's in a more negative spot than Vegas is, but it's slight. I don't like either, really. And I could see leaning towards an over here because both teams don't have that much rest. They're both coming off a big game. The total is kind of reasonable in the 170s, high 170s. I know Atlanta has a good defense, but the money is coming in on the under a little bit as well. But I don't do much with these WNBA totals at all, obviously, you know. But over might make some sense here. But yeah, I think the best WNBA play here is to take Toronto plus the points. But I have some reservations about it, although the only reservation really is that it's a return home spot. But they've had so much time to get stuff done at home, and I don't think they're going to be distracted for a game like that. And the extra rest might break their losing momentum. So that game, if you're playing it, you're playing against two streaks. But, of course, Toronto can obviously cover and not win. You know what I mean? They're double-digit underdogs. So it might be a game where New York just tries to get in, get out, and they win, but they don't cover. So that's what I got. My plays today are all in Major League Baseball here. I don't hate the baseball board today. We got the Yankees on the money line. Looks too easy, but I think it is the right spot to do it and a matchup that helps. Under first 5, I've found a 4.5 out there on what I think will be a good pitching matchup, Detroit and Pittsburgh. And then Arizona and Boston over the 8. Those are my 3 baseball plays. We got to get back on track, man. Baseball was really good early in the season. I told you I'm really bad at baseball in July and August, and I have no idea why. That's just the way it always is. We got to keep grinding. This is still like a 58% run over the last, whatever that is, 4 or 5 months. So I still know what I'm doing, man. And once football starts, I think things are going to heat up again because football went really well for me last year, especially NFL, but college was pretty good as well. Let's get back to it. I know I keep talking about how I'm going to do football previews. Subscribe here. Subscribe to Toadstool Sports here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, do everything. Comment, hype, all that stuff. Get this channel going. Listen on audio as well. But if you subscribe here, you'll know when I'm going live, right? Because I'm going to do the college football preview next probably. I was going to do it yesterday, but I got caught up with other things, and I was kind of feeling like shit, so we'll see when I want to do it. I'll do it before the season starts, at least. I know that's coming up soon, so got to do that, and I'll do a final NFL preview at some point as well. So subscribe, and you'll get notified, because it's going to be a little bit random as far as the timing of when I do that. What else we got? Yeah, we're on Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. Check that out. Learn to Toad on Instagram, Twitter. You can find me there. My link tree is going to be in the description, so you get all my links there and on Twitter as well. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. Patreon.com/LearnToToad if you want to support me that way. Losercast will be back tonight, and so you can check that out. And the New York Giants G-Spot podcast. Don't know what's going on with that, but got to talk to Ben again. He might be a bit busy, so we'll see. But that's going to do it. I appreciate it, everybody. Let's get back on the winning side here, man. Peace.
If the dark starts talking, hand me the phone. Let somebody answer, let somebody know. You do not have to lose this round alone. Hold on, not tonight, not now. Hold on, let me pull you out. That bad luck bites hard, but it don't get the crown. Hold on, stay with me now. Hold on, you're still here.